Hello everyone, today we're down at Fistral Beach in Cornwall, and as you can see I've got a seascape painting in progress set up on my easel, but I've just noticed two seagulls have landed really close by, so now I'm thinking, hey, this could be kind of good fun. I could try and draw one or two of the seagulls live on camera, so sitting outside, drawing away, working from life. So I think, right, I'll grab my painting off the easel, immediately get paint on my fingertips, so that's why I'm just wiping down the edge of the board. I'm using mixed media artboards here, so it's the same as the mixed media paper, but it's on stiff cardboard, so it's really good for working outside, because if there's a breeze or a wind, then they don't catch in the breeze like a piece of paper would. Okay, so now that I've got my fresh piece of paper, I'm going to grab a watercolour marker, a purple watercolour marker, and try and get a drawing done before these gulls fly away or walk away. So please bear with me with this video, because I'm sort of reacted spontaneously and I knew I had to work quickly. I didn't have time to optimise the angle of the camera, which is strapped to my forehead. So there are going to be occasions where the sketch isn't quite in frame, but later on in the video I will give you a really good look at the finished picture, and there are definitely parts of the video where you can see really clearly what's going on as well. I am, however, for much of the video sat in shade under my parasol. You'll see that my easel was set up in the sunshine specifically so it would film well, but as I said, I didn't know how long these two gulls were going to stay here, so I felt I've just got to go for it and see what I can do in the unknown amount of time I've got available. So I've already got one of the birds sort of outlined, and I'm working on the second one using this purple watercolour marker, and you can see just how often I'm flicking back and forth. My eyes are flicking down to the pad, up to the gulls and back again, and these gulls really were quite close to me. They looked further away than they actually were because of the fisheye lens, and having done that first sketch I wasn't actually too happy with it, so I removed that piece of board from the pad. And the first gull doesn't like this too much, as you'll see. He flutters away a bit. But the second gull, he's still lying almost completely still, just a casual look towards me with his head. So I really can't believe my luck at this stage, and I'm still feeling this time pressure, but I don't know if you've ever tried to draw animals from life. You know, they never sit still. It's difficult enough getting people to sit still when you're painting their portrait, let alone animals. So I really am sort of thinking, okay, I've got to get this done, better get moving. So I'm trying the same thing again now, but I'm working on the gull that is lying down, and that's going to be the main bird in this drawing. So putting down some quick line work with the purple watercolour marker. And then I decided, although the other gull is standing to the right of the one that's lying down, I decided to put that gull on the left and off in the distance a little bit in my drawing, just to give a certain sense of scale and a little bit of depth. Now the gull that's standing is casting a lovely shaped shadow on the undulating sand, so I've included that. And then once the line work is done, what I'm going to do is grab a paintbrush without any paint on it and just wet that paintbrush with clean water, and then I'm going to drag that through the line work that I've already done. So it's a really nice way to introduce some subtle tones and introduce some shadows just by moving the watercolour paint that I've put down with the marker, just moving that around the surface of the paper. And the cool thing is that you can get a lot of very subtle modulations of tone with this technique really quite quickly, and so sometimes you get a really light, lively drawing in a short amount of time, but because they're just light marks, if it doesn't work out, then you can work over the top of them and hide mistakes and things like that as well. Now the gull that is, you probably won't be able to see this on camera because he is very small in the frame, but the gull that's lying down, there are two lovely cast shadows, one which is being cast by his beak onto his white chest, and one which is being cast by the back of his head onto his back. And both of those, once they've been included in the drawing, they really help to describe the form of the bird. They really make the bird start to look three-dimensional. Now, seagulls are mostly white at the front, and then they've got kind of grey wings and back and tail, and then there's some darker grey towards the tips of the wings and tail. And so initially I'm just blocking in areas of mid-tone with my brush, going over the purple watercolour. Now, having done that, what I like to do is then go over with a second colour, again with the watercolour marker. And in doing this, there will be times when I correct the lines that I've put down. There will be times when I enhance the lines that I've put down, so just make them a bit darker. Other times I'll work more into the shadows to increase the contrast. But towards the end of the video, you'll be able to see, high resolution close up in proper lighting of the finished drawing, and you'll really be able to see how vibrant the blue and the purple and how well they work together. So at this stage I'm doing things like correcting the shape of the head, just refining that a little, deepening the shadows. This is a Prussian blue Winsor & Newton watercolour marker, and they have two tips on them, so they've got a fine line tip and a brush tip, and I'm using the brush tip here. So as well as deepening those cast shadows, I'm also making the tips of the wings and tail darker as well. And once again you can see the camera flicking back and forth from gull to sketch and back again, over and over again as my eyes and head move. Now I already had acrylic paint on my palette because I was working on the seascape. So what I decided to do was use some of that and take some titanium white and use that to go over some of the preliminary sketch lines that I didn't like so much, and I felt they were taking away from the illusion of strong light hitting that white plumage. And I also used the white paint to further refine the shape of the head a bit. And then having done that, I'm going back in with the brush and just adding some extra modulations of tone, just sort of softening different areas. So I'm pretty much ignoring texture and detail in this drawing. There just isn't enough time. Focusing more on tone, colour, and creating a sense of form, and of course focusing on line as well. Now the beaks of a seagull are pretty much yellow, except for on the lower half near the tip of the beak there's a burst of orangey red. So having used the titanium white acrylic, I also used some cadmium yellow in a bit, and also some cadmium red mixed with that yellow for the orange, and we'll come to that in a minute or two, I think. But one of the other techniques I use is, if I've got an area of where I've put down quite a lot of the dark watercolour, I'll just take a wet brush and drag it through that patch of dark colour, and then that little area on your drawing can act as a little micro palette or mini palette, so you can just pick up extra pigment on your brush and then apply that on a different part of the painting. So that's, a nice little trick. And here I'm just adding some yellow to the bill, and then we'll put the orange in a moment. So I really couldn't, so you can see now that both the birds have actually moved, but I couldn't believe how lucky I was, how long that little gull just stayed still. Yeah, he moved his head a little bit, but yeah, there's a lot of activity at the beach, a lot to distract them, you know, food to scavenge, people to swoop. So I got really lucky in this situation. So further refining the shape of the forehead, just to make the head look a bit more gull-like than it did. And then one of the things you'll see in the final version is that I also added in some yellow to represent the sand as well, so that the bird wasn't just sat within a white background. There's also a little splodge of watercolour paint just above the tail feathers. And normally I would hide that, but in this case I decided to leave it because I like the record of the fact that, you know, this was done from life. This was done in battle conditions, you know, in the field. There's a slightly better look at the finished painting, or finished mixed media. The high-res full colour, there we go, is coming up now. So hopefully that gives you a better idea of the colours I used, how vibrant the purple is, and how that contrasts with the yellow and the blue. So I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. I'm going to have the last few seconds of the video just with some footage of the beautiful Fistral beach. And if you've got any questions, then please feel free to leave them in the comments below. Please remember to like the video. If you're new here, please remember to subscribe and hit that notification bell. But in the meantime, I'll see you next Sunday for the next episode of The Sunday Art Show.